Okay, well, it is 10. I like to stick to the time frames here. As you can see, there is another person in the screen.
Hi.
This is Eva. This is one of our operational managers. She is going to be doing the presentation today. We'll kind of do it together. I'll kind of interject with any other comments or thoughts that I have on the topic. But she's going to be talking about fall prevention. So she'll do a short presentation, and then I want to make sure that we have available time for questions at the end.
So today we want to talk a little bit about fall prevention. So that is actually one of the trainings our caregiver do as well. Falls are the number one cause of injuries in assisted living / memory care. You will never going to be able to totally prevent falls. They're going to happen. They're probably going to happen weekly. Some of them going to be minor. Some of them going to be major. But there are things we can do to minimize the risks. And that's kind of like what we want to talk about today.
Yeah, I wanted to add on that. I think that something that I maybe had a misunderstanding when we first started was that, oh, we're going to create this house. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be perfect. And no one's going to fall. Like, we're going to take care of them. And they're, I had this understanding of what it actually means. And so I want to let you know that that's an unrealistic viewpoint to take, that you will try as hard as you can to make sure that none of them fall. But there's just going to be circumstances where you can literally turn for like 2 seconds. They're like running down the hall or doing something and then they fall. So it's almost like if you're a parent, you kind of understand this concept of like when you turn for just like a couple seconds, your kid can be like running off doing something. It's kind of similar to that. And so this is why I wanted to talk about it, because I want to make sure that you guys know that you're not doing anything wrong if you have individuals that fall in your house. Okay. So I think I had that misunderstanding.
I was scared at the beginning too.
Yeah.
I mean, like, especially when I first started as a caregiver, I felt horrible. I felt like I'm not doing my job. Mm-hmm. I'm not watching them good enough. But it's not realistic. Like, there's only 2 of you. There's 15 of them. I mean, these things can happen in the middle of the night. Like, we are not in the rooms with them 24/7. They're getting out of bed. They're getting in the bathroom. They're standing up out of the recliner, forgetting they can't walk anymore. It's not realistic not to have any faults.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you as the owner or you as the manager need to have that understanding so that you're not upholding this expectation and putting on your staff that there needs to be no falls in this house. I think that's just going to put a stress on your team, and they may seek opportunities elsewhere because that's not a realistic approach to take. So with all that being said, I just wanted to say that this is an important topic, that you can prevent falls in a way, but there's still going to be falls in your house.
So why fall prevention is important in a memory care setting? So first of all, like I said, it's the number one injury cause. Like, it's a high fall risk. Our grandparents that with the dementia, they have naturally an impaired balance. Their lack of judgment. They don't even have that concept for space anymore often. And sometimes they really just forget that their legs are not working anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, they wake up in the morning and they're back in 1940 or 1925. They're a kid again. They're looking for their grandma. They get up out of the bed and they forget that their legs are not working. So it's a very high risk, especially in memory care. You want to do the training for your staff because you try to prevent serious injuries. There's a lot of things you can put in place. So even if they fall, you can prevent serious injuries. So there are bed alarms, there are fall mats. There's a lot of things you can put in place for them that will help with these things.
Question on that real quick.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on those mats?
So the fall mats, they definitely have their pros and cons. And fall mats are not ideal for all of them. Like, you really have to, it's really individualized, because the ones who they are still walking in our fall risk, they most likely trip over those mats more than they're actually going to fall on top of these mats. But for the ones who are not able to move their legs anymore, they are really helpful, because if they do roll themselves out of the bed, or if they slide themselves out of the bed, they're going to land on the mat and not on the cold floor.
Yeah.
So even if they, and I know it sounds horrible, but even if they lay on the floor for an hour, because we only do 2-hour rounds, or, I mean, sometimes we're lucky we hear it because our house is very small, but then at least they're not laying on the cold floor for an hour or 45 minutes.
Yeah. What do you think about the alarms?
I like the bed alarms, actually. And they're actually pretty good these days. Like, they're not going off for every movement. They're really just going off when they lift themselves up of that pad. And it definitely helps the caregivers, especially at night, when it goes off, just to go in the room and check, okay, are they actually up, or they're trying to move out of the bed? So we can redirect before the fall actually happens.
Yeah. So if you aren't aware of what those are, they're mats that actually like go on their bed, like under their sheet, and so it detects movement, and so it'll let your staff, your team, know if there's excess movement, especially at night. And so if that alarm goes off, you can go into the room and see if they're about to fall, or if they're getting up on their own, or anything. So it can prevent falls. So that's something that you can also incorporate within your home as well. We don't really utilize that as often.
We have quite a few right now. I think we have like 6 or 7 bed alarms at the moment.
Oh, 6. I don't even know that. Okay. So I guess we use them more than we thought. Okay.
So we do, yes. And then I like it too because you can move them. Like for one of our residents, he's always in the recliner, and he tends to get out of the recliner sometimes because he want to take himself through the bathroom because he gets impatient of waiting. So it's nice because you can actually move it to the living room. So we also hear when we're busy in the kitchen, we can hear as well.
That's perfect. Okay.
Another thing is you want to maintain the independence. So we do want them to maintain their mobility, and a fall often comes with injury. They're breaking their hips, they're breaking their legs. Sometimes it's really just a mental thing as well. Like after they have a fall where they don't want to walk anymore. We just currently had somebody, she had a fall, and it was not even a major fall. She didn't even have any major injuries, but she was in a wheelchair for almost 3 weeks because she was just too scared to walk again. So that's another thing why we try to prevent the falls as much as we can, just for them to keep their mobility as long as possible. And then the improved quality of life comes with that. If you reduce the fall risk, you minimize the pain, then hospitalization. I mean, once they break a hip, they're going to be out for a while. They're going to have to go to rehab. And for somebody with dementia, this is going to come with a serious decline in the dementia.